Hello, everybody. This is Hollywood. Matt Connolly with the double biceps in the contract. Has to be done. 200% more bicep every episode. One of the hosts of the Daily Combat podcast, my co-host today, as always, is the man himself, winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award, 47 years consecutive years in a row.
There were a few years in the early 90s where I came runner-up.
Was it to Vince Lombardi?
Ronaldo. He beat me in that as well.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's done it for years.
I was going for hair salon of the year,
Right.
and he took the Dave Stockbridge Award. just to anyway.
To mix it up. That's
Yeah.
right. So it is Dave Stockbridge. And our special guest today is an MMA fighter fresh off a win at the Diamondback Fighting Championship number 12. It is Tahlia, the Great White Graetz. So welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's great. So yes, a big win that you had in the Diamondback Fighting Championship there. Obviously, you're coming from a Muay Thai striking background,
Yep.
but the girl that you fought, Samara, she is a bit more of a well-rounded kind of fighter. And you could see that you must have been working a lot of grappling
For sure.
in that exchange
Yep.
because, as the fight sort of went on, you could see that you were winning the striking element, and you could see Samara like, oh, I need to change this up. I'm going to take it to the ground.
Yep.
And she did manage to get you down with the judo throw.
Very impressive judo throw. That worried me.
Yeah.
But
But the key element of that, you got an underhook with your leg as she threw the judo throw in and got back up. So that is a very technical move that you would have added to your gameplay there.
Repertoire.
Yeah.
it was good that it happened the way it did because I think I drilled that exact sort of stand-up technique for the whole fight camp over and over and over. That was the one that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in anticipation of her perhaps doing that
For
at
sure.
some stage?
For sure. I knew that she would be cautious of my striking and want to take me down. So I just worked mainly on sharpening my tools as far as striking, but also cage wrestling. So being able to get back up, stay off the cage, which in the commentary said it was going to be my second opponent would be the cage wall.
Yeah.
So avoided that at all costs, sort of kept the center and
That's right.
Do you spend a lot of time planning for what your opponent might do to you in those camps? Is it really, as you're about to enter your next camp, are these some of the things that you're keeping in mind?
Yeah, for sure. I, not so much, I let my coaches sort of do the research and plan out where I should be working and where the holes are. But I definitely keep it in mind and focus a lot on what the strengths and weaknesses are of my opponent and myself.
Yeah.
So,
And fighting from the Barossa, you're still up there, or you're fighting with Element, is that right?
Element Barossa.
Awesome.
Shout out to Element.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and your dad is the veteran of the Muay Thai world.
Yeah.
And did he get you into the sport?
So when I was 13 when I started, I'd been around gyms my whole life, like Muay Thai gyms my whole life. I remember Dad going down sparring in the city for his fights, and I'd be there. He'd be babysitting me, and I'd be in the corner, watching all the fighters. We had a gym at our house for many years, so Barossa Muay Thai that he ran, and I was always around that as well. And I begged and begged and begged, I want to be a fighter, I want to fight, I want to train. So eventually he gave in and let me start training, and I never looked back since.
All right.
And so did Dad kind of keep it away from you a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. Mum and Dad both, they sort of wanted me to do recreational sports where I could make friends and, be with people my own age.
Beating up?
Yeah.
Make friends and beat them up.
normal kid stuff, for sure. Yeah, so they tried to get me into, gymnastics, and I really enjoyed that when I was young. Dance, all sort of places where I could meet people my own age, not 20-year-old fighters and that sort of thing. Being a 13-year-old.
Yeah. You had that hunk. Oh, sorry. Right? Yeah, you had that, I want to get in there. This is the thing. I want to do it. Dad, let me in. Let me put the gloves on.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to impress my dad, and I wanted to, be a fighter because it's just like what I idolize. So yeah.
I like the way that Dad said, look, no fighting for you, but gymnastics.
Yes.
And maybe some dance. And then you come back and you've got all of this movement and coordination and strength.
I am so thankful. Like, yes, it's good to start, like, I would have liked to start martial arts as early as possible and get into it and have so many years of experience. But I'm so thankful for having a background in gymnastics and dance.
Yeah, right.
Because the flexibility, the coordination, and the footwork is just already there.
Yeah. Just that natural intrinsic balance that you get from dance that you mightn't otherwise have if you're a bit of a flat-footed fighter or even just a stand-up fighter, for instance.
Yeah, footwork in martial arts is not something that comes natural to many people. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You see Vasily Lomachenko, the boxer, and he was when he was coming out. I don't know if this is true. I haven't actually researched it, but I heard this that he wanted to get into boxing, and his parents said, "No, you can't do boxing. Or if you do want to do boxing, you've got to go and do this traditional dance thing, like." I don't know, not sport, but whatever it is, this Russian dancing stuff.
Russian dance sport.
Yeah. For a couple of years. Yeah. And he did that, and that's where he sort of got his really good footwork, and you see his movement in the ring, and a lot of it is sort of dodging around the opponent with his feet, and they're just leaving him for dead. And yeah.
Well, even our guest from a few weeks ago, Daniel White, who was training with a kung fu master who had who developed a kung fu style out of was it Latin dance?
Yeah, that's right.
So the movement and all of that, and so he developed using the very, very similar movements a whole new kung fu genre.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's amazing how a lot of this. So you found that's really benefited you now in the ring. Yeah,
for
just
sure.
hand-eye coordination.
It really is. It's I guess it's a martial art. It's an art. So if you can't dance, you can't fight, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is in some aspects, they're very similar in terms of, you've got your different steps and your foot positionings and where you're trying to move your body. And, obviously if you're trying to throw a certain strike or technique, you need to be in this position to be able to effectively throw it. And if you're trying to do a move or a backflip or something in gymnastics, it's the same sort of thing. It's like you've got to be in this position. You can't do it from there or you'll hurt yourself.
Yep.
So, you can see the elements there would have. How long did you do all that, the gymnastics and dance?
Oh, I'm really not sure. It was all throughout sort of primary school. And I think I quit dance. I quit gymnastics about like end of primary school. So that was only during younger years. But dance went all the way into sort of high school, mid-high school. I stopped that. Mm-hmm. And that was from like get-go. Like I was 5 years old straight into it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mum wanted a little ballerina.
Look what she got.
Yeah.
And how does Mum feel about all of this now?
She loves it. She used to train herself
Right.
when she was like sort of my age, like 17, 18.
Wow. So it's kind of in the DNA.
Yeah. And so she never fought, but now she judged a lot. She was a Muay Thai judge and she was on the sort of martial arts committee. Yeah, she was very heavily involved still, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So so they kind of kept you away from it, but what made you want it even more? Was it them saying, well, maybe just a couple more years, just see how you go?
I guess it was just always looking up to the people that I saw in the gym and looking up to my dad and thinking, wow, that is so cool. And I love the idea of being in the ring and, I guess the glory of it all.
Mm-hmm. And what was your first taste of the glory in the ring? What was your first fight in the ring?
Well, my first fight definitely wasn't my first glory, that's for sure. So I lost my first fight, but I think that was one of the best things to happen in my career because it really gave me that fire and made me have to work harder. Mm-hmm. That was on Knees of Fury. I think that was in 2016.
Wow.
So you're almost a veteran now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You could say.
Yeah. How old are you now?
I'm 19 next month, so I'm 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you start. How old were you? 15 when you started?
Yeah, so I think I was 13, 14, and that was just with one of the girls in the gym. I didn't do the regular classes because there was no one really my size at all, but one of the girls in the gym, Dad, got to train me just for an hour on, say, a random day of the week, and I just start there and built up my basics, and then I think I did that for about a year, and when I was a bit more confident, a bit bigger, a bit older, I was allowed to train with the adults.
And then things got serious.
Yeah. For sure.
What was it like the first, backstage before your very first fight? They're about to call your name. How were you feeling?
Terrifying. It was exciting but terrifying. I didn't know whether to be like nervous or excited because I'd watched plenty of fights before, but I'd never really done it myself. And you never know what it's going to be like until you actually get in there. And I just had the typical like first round moment, like, why am I doing this? You know? Like you cop the first punch to your face, and it's all good up until then. But after that, it's like, why did I even agree to this? But you think that during it, and then after you're like, this is why I do it. I get it now. I remember.
Yeah. So you lost that fight, and obviously there was enough in that for you to think, I want to do this. I want to do this again.
It was a good fight. It went the whole distance. I definitely didn't convincingly win or lose, so it was really good, and I made a really good friend from it. But yeah, the feeling of just being in there and that adrenaline rush, it's like, okay, now I have to win. You know, I can't like, oh, I lost. Okay, that's it now.
Yeah.
I have to win.
I know. I've had a taste now.
Yeah.
And how did that first win feel when it came along?
So that was my second fight. That was in Whyalla on Shins of Steel, and that was incredible. Like, just it's like you work so hard in your fight camp, and it just pays off. Whether you win or lose, it always pays off if you have a good fight. But it was just next level.
Yeah.
All that adrenaline, all that, I can do it. Yeah.
Getting your hand raised is like a crazy feeling. And then I like looking into my corner and seeing my dad there. So not just my coach, I see my dad.
Yeah.
You know, my grandparents are in the crowd, my mum's in the crowd. It's an awesome feeling.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that keeps fighters coming back, and even the ones that probably should have retired, but they're chasing that high. You know, it's like there's nothing else in the world that would get them that sort of feeling.
Yeah.
So,
well, a good example of that is John Wayne Parr at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, like he's had his 99th win and he's getting to the end of his career. He's, you know, getting more injured. He's getting a bit older. But he's still having that one more fight. He always says one more. One more.
I thought his one more was like 15 fights ago.
Yeah, you think. All right, that's enough. Okay, one more.
Yeah.
So he's got another one, I think, with one champ again.
Wow.
Just to hunt that 100th win. I don't blame him, though. Like, how unsatisfying.
Oh,
so close.
Yeah.
Sort of like Don Bradman.
Yes.
Like, it's one of those sporting moments, isn't it?
That's right.
He's got to get to the 100 now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, John Wayne Parr, exceptional Muay Thai fighter, and then started his own gym in Queensland now. But he has a unique style where he uses his jab like a straight, you know, like he puts so much power into that jab. And you see him, if you ever watch his training videos where he's just hitting a bag or something and it's like, bang, like that's the jab. And it's like, oh my God. Because he's like, I'm not going to just be pouring with it as a setup for my right. I'm going to use the jab as my weapon.
That's the weapon, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to see it. Fantastic Australian fighter. So he's had an illustrious career. Yeah, for sure. What is he up to, like almost 300 fights or something? It's just
something crazy like that.
Years and years. But
he was in Thailand at my age, living over there, just fighting to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And lived the full Muay Thai lifestyle for years over there, and speaks Thai. And I think one of the funny things, I listened to a podcast he was on with Joe Rogan, and he said, the way that the Thai people speak, in terms of like if you're translating it to English, like the Thai is very simple. It's like, I go to shop, like I go shop, very simple. And then he's like, when I came back to Australia, and I was like, he was going, I couldn't get out of going, me hungry, me thirsty. I've got to add the other words in.
Would have been got some weird looks, like bit simple.
All of that fighting maybe has caught up with you.
Yeah, one too many knocks in the head.
That's right.
And is any of that a concern for you, starting so young and obviously got a huge career still ahead of you? Like, how do you feel like you're going to be when you're 40, for instance?
I haven't found it to be an issue yet, of course, but that is another reason my parents probably didn't want me to do it, is looking after my head.
Yeah.
I definitely think about it a lot, but I put in so many different precautions, I guess, and I get enough sleep, and I do my recovery well, and I take all good supplements, my fish oil and etc.
Yeah.
So,
as long as you keep thinking about it, that's the main thing. Just keep thinking, and
as
you'll be fine.
As soon as those thoughts just dwindle.
What was I thinking?
Me hungry, me thirsty. Oh, that's great.
And have you ever had plans to go to Thailand or anything like that?
I've actually been twice.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to go again, but sort of hard nowadays. Been twice.
Did you go to train?
Yeah,
right.
Well, my family sacrifices a lot for my Muay Thai, so we went as our family holidays 2 years. Yeah. So I didn't get to do the whole experience where I stayed in the camp itself. We stayed in a pretty nice hotel just up the road, so I'd walk down to the camp. But I was training.
You had the 5-star version.
Yeah, pretty much. So still nice for my mum and my sister that weren't training. They could go down to the beach and relax. So we were in Koh Samui, so it's super, super relaxed, not as busy as mainland Thailand. But me and Dad would be walking down to the gym in the morning and then relaxing during the afternoon, and then later on that day back down to the gym.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
And being the spiritual home of Muay Thai, is there that still a part of you that says, "Oh, I want to go back there. I want to spend
Sure, I think every Thai fighter has that.
Yeah, deep down.
Yeah, it's like the homeland of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
It's just you really get that taste of what it would be like to really live it. No job, just that is your job.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a crazy style of life as well over there. With that you're living in the gym, sleeping on the floors almost,
eating on the mats. People eat on the mats they train on, which is you think over here it's disgusting. You don't walk on the mats with your shoes on, But where people train and sweat, you eat your food.
Yeah,
they just do it.
Yeah, it's three sessions a day, or maybe 2 at a minimum kind of thing, and just running. And these guys are crazy. I mean,
it's hot and humid.
The sports, like the Muay Thai work ethic is rather extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
And especially when there, even more so.
Yeah, for sure.
And not getting paid much either as well.
No.
Their money that they win for fights there is pitiful in a way.
It's like you really don't make a profit if you're a Thai fighting to live and living in the gym. You don't make a profit. You just give it back to the gym and you just eat the food they give you and then you just fight again. I guess you got to really love fighting.
Yeah.
Your profit is fighting, I guess.
Yeah, well, they're almost fighting every week there, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's just that's why you see these guys with these records coming in with 400 fights or something, and it's like he's 23 years old. It's like, my God, but the experience that they have at that level and going into it, especially if they start so young. I mean, they're starting 4 or 5 years old. They're kicking bags and that sort of thing, and to get to 23 years old, and so
thinking about that in Australia, it's like, oh, that's crazy, a 4 or 5 year old, he's been doing it for so long. But then you think about AFL. You see a 4-year-old kicking a footy, you're not going to...
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just cultural, isn't it? And what you get used to seeing.
Yeah.
And so you touched on it just a few moments ago. Do you feel there's a space for you to be professional, full-time Muay Thai in your career, perhaps?
With the whole new One Championship, and I think if I really wanted to go for it, I could. Yeah. And there is opportunities to do that, sponsorships. You got to really work hard.
Yeah.
Sponsorships, getting on a good promotion like that, willing to work hard and continue fighting.
Yeah.
But, it just...
Are you at the crossroads in thinking about where your life goes at this?
For sure, because I'm at uni at the moment doing something completely unrelated to my sport, so...
Kickboxing?
At uni studying Muay Thai.
It's a 4-year degree of kickboxing.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, the 7-year-olds that have just graduated from Thailand.
Oh my goodness.
They get RPL recognised probably.
The lecturer's a child from Thailand.
Right, yeah, it probably
just hit
would
you
be.
with a stick.
Yeah.
Kick the tree. Yeah. Today's lesson: kick the tree for 4 hours.
So, what are you studying?
Bit different. I'm studying mechanical engineering.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What led you in that little direction?
Being a bit of a nerd in high school, probably.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Enjoying my physics and not so much enjoying maths, but I was pretty good at maths. So yeah. But I've always liked that sort of style of thinking.
Yeah.
And being hands-on, so yeah.
Where does mechanical engineering lead to? I'm not exactly sure what they do.
Yeah, so a lot of working on machines, which, from the name. But for me personally, I work at a factory currently, glass factory in Gawler. Mm-hmm. So that's where it will lead me. So continue on from uni, I'll work
There's skills that you can use in your workplace at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it where you're designing or potentially designing the way that factory machines operate?
For sure, and a lot of sort of capital projects. So bringing in new, what's the word for it? New machinery.
techniques.
Technology. That's it. New technology into the glass manufacturing world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's and are you enjoying it?
I love it. I
Really?
love it so much. Yeah.
It's very niche.
I know it's such a niche.
And
Yeah.
well, that's great whenever you've got a niche and you can drill into it, because normally there's not too many people around that are going to be able to do what you're doing in 10 years' time, because no one's really centering their attention on it right now, especially in glass.
Yeah.
Particularly.
So manufacturing in itself is a bit of a niche, but glass is very strange.
What is the specialty, like if you were going, okay, this is what's important with glass manufacturing compared to something else? Is it something that you can identify and go, this is the thing that people don't realise?
All of the food, health, safety stuff. So I work with like bottles, but it's really finicky stuff. You've got massive furnaces that are burning at 1300 degrees, and you have to be standing and like working right next to them.
Wow.
Yeah. And all the raw materials that go into the furnace, there might be however many tons in there, but 200 grams of a certain material can throw the whole colour off.
Oh.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
200 grams?
Yep.
Jeez.
Yep.
Okay. And you're trying to get
you've got to
certain...
reproduce a certain colour, because you might be making a bottle and that's that brand's colour and style. So if you get that a little bit wrong, scrap.
For sure.
Wow.
Whoa. And the 1300 degree stuff, like if you're working next to that, you've got all your safety gear on.
Longs.
Yeah.
Long.
It's
So it's really good as you're approaching a fight.
weight cutting.
Weight cutting for sure. I've never been in a sauna.
I just got to work.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. So have you had people that are really struggling? Like if they're working there, do they have, the sort like you can only be there for 20 minutes and you got to get 10 minutes off or something, or is it?
For sure, and you got to, at the start especially, because you got to learn that your limit and what your indicators are. So when I started, I was not up there much at all, and we've got air-conditioned control rooms that we're allowed to like dip into quickly. There's cold water in there, but you have to be really careful. Even when I was going around for tours of the place before I started working there, you're up touring the around by the hot end, and you're sweating fully, just walking around.
Jeez. So when you're fully
That's how I
kitted
feel,
up,
by the way. All the time.
Having to wear masks was the worst thing that has happened to our business, because you've got a hat on, you've got safety glasses which fog up, you've got the mask on which your whole like cheeks and lips and everything are sweating.
Yep.
You've got your longs, you've got shirt underneath, pants, big boots which are steel cap, but they also have a metal plate underneath them. So yeah, if you step on
just to keep the soles warm.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. If you step on any molten glass, it will cut through your skin like butter, like hot glass, and through your boot.
wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So it's a really dangerous area.
So mum and dad said, look, okay, firstly, Muay Thai, you should do that. And then if that's not dangerous enough for you, what about working down by the furnace? Yeah. Excellent.
Wow. And have you ever measured like how much weight you've lost in a day, like just sweating or whatever?
No, but I reckon it would be around like a kilo, honestly.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, just working would be like 2 kilos a kilo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. And what do you walk around at?
I walk around at around about 58.
Okay, so the 2 kilos. I mean, there's 5%
That's a
of your
lot
body
for
weight.
me.
It's
Yeah.
a percentage, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 2 kilos. I mean, you might necessarily notice, but
Yeah. Well, 2 kilos is what I have to lose for my fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've never lost more than 4 kilos or 4 or 5 kilos for a fight camp. So
And what-
2
what-
kilos is a good chunk.
yeah.
yeah. And what are your feelings on weight cutting and the like? What's your relationship with that, and what do you see in others? And are you starting to form views over the health aspects of
Yeah,
that?
for me personally, like I've had a lot of experience with weight cutting and how I felt in the fights compared to when I don't have to weight cut. And because I'm doing it over a long period of time, let's say I have to cut 4 kilos, I'll do that over the 5 weeks. So I've never actually noticed a massive difference. However, my last fight on DFC, I fought at 62 kilos. And I sort of just said yes to get a match because I really wanted to fight.
Yeah. So that meant putting on weight?
Yes, yeah.
Potentially,
So I ended up being I have the opposite issue. I find it really hard to put on weight.
Yeah.
So I was eating a lot, having more protein intake, you know, chalky bickies.
Biscuits.
And I ended up being, I think it was 60 or 61 kilos at the fight, and I felt great during that. I didn't gas, you know. Well, you know, you gas a little bit, just normal.
Right.
But I felt awesome.
Yeah.
Compared to maybe, let's say, my boxing fight that I had. I had to cut a little bit of weight for that. Not much, but I gassed within the first round, and my arms felt heavy, and I just felt weak. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think good nutrition is the key, especially.
Right.
Yeah, healthy.
Seen so many fights ruined by bad weight cuts.
Oh, yeah.
Either
Yeah.
people not making the weight or they cut so much, and then by the time the fight rolls around, they're a shell of themselves in the ring.
I just think, like, personally, I think if you, and this is a good mentality that Ju Jitsu practitioners have, you know, you fight at the weight you stand around at.
Yeah.
But like people that cut so much crazy weight that they have to get on an IV drip after the weigh-in, or they're standing up there almost fainting. Like, I think that's crazy. You're about to go into like a serious competitive environment where you have to be at your peak, and the day before you're almost about to faint.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, isn't it, to think like you've done, say, 12 weeks or 16 weeks of a camp focusing on, you know, in a way like skills and health and fitness and, you know, being strong as possible. And then the night before the fight, you go and like dehydrate yourself completely just to make a weight. And then it's like, well, wasn't that counterintuitive to everything you just done up to this point?
And I feel like that was a really old mentality in martial arts, and I feel like people are moving more towards the health risk, or like noticing the health risks and moving towards more healthier weight cuts. So I think it's really positive. I haven't had seen any instances myself where people have been cutting too crazy.
There seems to be greater dangers for young women as well in weight cuts too. So in having Penny you were mentioning before, there's definite challenges that are associated, and Carly made mention of the battles that she had, and just trying to work out as you're growing as well. You know, you're a young person, and you might find it really hard to cut down to what you might have done 2 years ago, for instance, yet you may be known as that fighter, or you may have a title in that division, and you might get there at 19 or 20, but then you might want to hold that belt till you're 23, but your body's still changing, you're still growing, and it's a really delicate balance, I think, for athletes.
I look, and I used to fight at like 54, and I think that is crazy. But it's only 4 kilos difference now.
Yeah.
I would not want to or could not get down to that, because there's nothing of me as is.
Right, yeah.
You'd lose all your muscle.
Yeah.
So I'd like to keep that.
Yeah, that's why I don't as well. That's a big factor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when I was growing, that's why I'm so glad that I had a good coach, and my dad as my coach especially, because he never would agree to anything that would put me at risk. And if I did have to cut weight, it was always scheduled, and you know, I was doing about 1 kilo a week, and we were keeping on track with that. So.
Did he do the same in his career?
I'm not too sure, because most of his fighting was done before I was born, and I think he had his last fight when I was like a toddler.
Okay.
So I'm not too sure, but a lot of his fight photos, he is pretty ripped. So I would not be surprised. Yeah.
You'd probably say that's how I walked around.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always like that.
Yeah.
Just a beast. Don't look at any of the other photos, but just look at the weigh-in photos.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Being a female and having to weight cut, like, you definitely have to keep in mind, you know, that time of the month. You hold more water in, so you could fluctuate really easily.
Yeah.
So you could not change your diet at all, just keep steady, and then you'll just fluctuate randomly, and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Plus it's frustrating.
Oh yeah, it would be, and
especially when the degrees or the variance that's permitted is so narrow.
Yeah.
You got this very specific window, and at your weight, it doesn't take much to go too far away. So do you fight at different weights for different sports? So for boxing and Muay Thai?
For boxing and Muay Thai and MMA, they're all sort of similar. Mm-hmm. So around that, 56 range is what I like. I got offered or asked for this DFC coming up, would you fight at 52? And I immediately said, no way. But for Ju Jitsu, there's less girls that enter the competitions. So you might get 2 girls or 1 girl in your division, but there's 3 girls and 2 divisions up, which is 5 kilos, each division.
Yeah.
So they'll just meld us all together. So I've gone into jiu-jitsu comps at, let's say, like 55 kilos or 60 kilos I've entered in at, but I'm fighting girls that are 70, 75.
Wow.
So
Yeah, just because of the lack of competition.
you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel there's like in jiu-jitsu, for instance, is that less of an issue
For sure, I
Yeah.
think so, because
than the striking sports?
yeah, I'm not sure why. Like a 70 kilo person, like sitting on top of you is pretty hard to move if you're 55 kilos.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd much rather that than have a punch land on my face from a 70 kilo girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the devastation that
Yeah.
can come with that.
Yeah.
And for our Daily Combat podcast exclusive, what fight with your upcoming fight? What weight class were you? What are you going to be fighting in?
56.
56.
Yeah. So I think that's flyweight for Apex is called, because bantamweight was the last one.
Okay.
I'm not too sure on the names, but I think it's flyweight.
Yeah. So are you able to announce that now?
Yes.
Okay. So perhaps share with our audience what's coming up for
So-
Tahlia the Great White Graetz.
Yeah, so on Apex number 2, I'm matched with an Interstate girl. For my second MMA fight.
Awesome.
Wonderful. And what do you know about your opponent?
Not much.
Okay.
So I leave that all up
So
to...
Dad's doing the homework.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
doing the Googling.
I don't have much...
It's on social media. It's on Facebook.
Yeah, this is all right.
I wish I had more information for you guys, but I let that be my coach's issue.
Yeah.
I trust them, so
Do you know
Excellent.
the name of the opponent?
not even.
Oh,
No.
wow.
So I just know she's interstate. She's blue belt in Ju Jitsu. She's had 2 MMA fights, 1 win, 1 loss, and 5 boxing fights, but I don't know her record.
Okay. Yeah.
And how do you compare? Like, so you've boxed and Muay Thai, kickboxing.
Yes, so K1 a little
K1,
bit. When
yep.
I was younger, I just count them as my Muay Thai fights, but to get female fights, I sort of had to sacrifice and go to K1 rules, which does not suit me very much because I loved the knees.
Knees and elbows, yeah.
love the clinch.
The clinch.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've had, I think it's either 11 or 12 Muay Thai fights.
Wow.
I've had 1 boxing fight, and as you were talking about with Carly and Penny, I was one of the ones during COVID that sort of tried to move to boxing. Didn't have a very good experience. So
Oh.
I did enjoy the boxing training and everything, but it's a funny story. It's not too funny, but it's funny. I had my first boxing fight for a state title.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Very first
I know,
fight.
it was crazy. I was shocked. I wasn't going to say
How
no.
did
Yeah.
that happen? So what was the background to that?
I have no idea.
So
they
you-
just offered it.
Oh, so you weren't even interested in boxing?
I
and somebody
was
said-
interested in boxing. So during COVID, I was training with a boxing gym in Kapunda, North Central, and I was looking to have a boxing fight just because there were no female Muay Thai around. So that was what was still running.
Yep.
And I said I wanted to fight. They matched me up with the girl and said, "Oh, and we'll throw in a title."
Just out of the blue.
So I wasn't going to say, "Oh no, I don't want the title." I'll go for the title.
Yeah. So
me that
she
gold.
wasn't the current title holder. It was
No,
just
no,
that-
it was just brought
Okay.
up.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a title available.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
so why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that would have got you pretty excited at that stage.
I was very excited. It almost like sort of put a bit more pressure on, even though it's the same fight. I actually technically, this is the tricky bit. I got announced as the winner, got the belt handed to me. Halfway through putting it around my waist, they said, "There's been a mistake."
No.
Yep. Took the belt off.
No.
Yep. Gave it to the other girl, and I was
Wow.
very, very sad.
Yeah. What,
And
did they tell you the scores wrong or something?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I don't know what went wrong.
Right.
If they thought I was the red corner or wrong corner.
Oh.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah. So I just sort of left the ring.
Yeah.
With all of that adrenaline,
Yep.
the
I
excitement,
just
the
won
celebration.
and then I'd lost.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
God.
the biggest drop
Oh.
ever.
Wow.
And then I never went back.
Never went back.
I was like, it just ruined
Left
it for
such
me.
a bit of taste in your mouth.
And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fight, and I enjoyed it when I was winning, but
Yeah.
when I lost,
you feel you won the fight though?
Oh, it was very. I do agree, it was very close, but I think I did enough to win.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of the people in the crowd said the same. So
Yeah.
Right. But so that's pretty kind of unprofessional of the
Yeah.
organisation to do that. I'd like to know the reasoning behind the, if you
We demand to find
Yeah.
the
I
reasoning
want
behind
get
this.
them on the phone now. What happened? Because if they've tallied the scores incorrectly, then sure. But if it was just like, oh no, we meant to go for that girl, it's like, no, what are you doing?
it's
You're a
almost
professional judge here. Like,
yeah, it's almost at that point like you just can't give it to anyone. You sort of rematch or a
Yeah, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Jesus.
Wow, like from right then, it should have been like an overtime in football. It's sort of,
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah,
no one's
extra
getting
round.
it now. Extra round,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
But
just
would've
sudden
done
death. Sudden death. That would have been great. And then put the belt in the middle.
yeah.
On a like a hanging from the roof, and
Yeah.
then a ladder in the middle of the cage.
I like that.
Yeah, that's it. Whoever gets up there first, though, it's turning it to WWE. Brock
Grab
Lesnar
the-
comes out from under the stage.
Under the
Grab
stage,
the ladder and smash it over the head.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
right,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
Dad comes in. Yeah, over the chair. Yeah.
What's your entrance music?
Oh, okay. I've had a couple songs. So most sort of recognizable was my first. Iconic was Marilyn Manson. Beautiful People was my first
Oh,
ever, and
yeah.
I let my dad choose that, so it's sort of like
That's a good
memorable.
one. It's good. It's a good
Yeah.
walk-in song.
It's got
yeah.
a good beat to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've had, and that was like, you got to think that was like a 14, 15-year-old girl, like this little
All right.
Beautiful
chick.
people.
Yeah.
Beautiful people.
So I've always had like heavy ring entrance songs. I had the end of Korn, Freak on a Leash,
Ah.
and that was pretty tough.
Yep.
But my one at the moment for MMA that I'm probably going to stick with is City Morgue's Hurt World. And it's not a very common song,
Yeah.
but it is very tough, and it has lots of references to like MMA and fighting in
Oh,
it.
cool.
So that fight that I won via knees in the second round,
Yeah.
my ring entrance song actually says "Catch a knee to your nose,"
Oh.
and I did accidentally knee her in the nose.
Yeah.
So it was almost like foreshadowing.
Yeah. So with that fight,
We
because this
actually
is
spent some time
we
talking
did.
about this on the
This
podcast.
is why it was
Yeah.
a 15-minute clip. It's available on
It's
the
all
YouTube
coming back to
channel,
me now.
the Daily Combat Podcast YouTube channel and Facebook page. It is there if you
I'll
want to
check
see
it
that.
out.
It's
I'll
a
check
review
that. I'll
of
check that YouTube channel. It sounds
Tahlia's
great.
fight with Samara at the Diamondback Championship number 12. So we were talking about that with Rich and with those knees. So the rules, because it was an amateur fight, you weren't allowed to knee to the face.
No.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, let's set it up a little bit, because for those people that might have missed the fight or even may have missed our podcast. So there
How
was
dare
some.
they?
Yes.
I know, unbelievably. So for the three people out there, it was a controversial end to the fight, and caused a great deal of consternation post fight, which in some cases can sour the victory, I guess, in some part. But but there was some uncertainty from the referee,
Yep.
and as to. And there seemed to be, perhaps in his body language, enough to communicate to create confusion in the cage as well.
Yeah.
So, as the fighter in that situation, were you cognizant of any of that was going on at that point in time?
Yes.
Okay. So
you
tell us
pick
from
up
your
on
perspective.
The vibe. Yeah.
Right.
So I knew I had accidentally kneed her in the face, and it was hard because I've always been taught, it's not your job to stop the fight. You go until the ref pulls you off, because that's their job. So I accidentally kneed her in the face and sort of...
Is this as she's falling?
Yeah.
So there was already some...
14 knees
no, I
prior
think-
to
yeah.
the 15.
Yeah.
Rich was on the,
serious?
was ringside screaming out each kick, or each knee to counting it down, and so as a result of that, your opponent's Samara in this case was falling, and at that critical moment where maybe her knees had hit the canvas,
So I didn't change my kneeing technique throughout. It was always at the same sort of stomach point. It's not like I sped up or did an extra one that was different. It was the same repetitive knee.
Yeah.
However, her body changed.
Yeah, she
dropped.
dropped.
And the thing is, it sort of could have been avoided, if it had been called off maybe 5 knees before.
Yeah.
But that's hindsight, and,
And are you like 4 or 5 knees in with half an eye to the referee at this stage as well?
I'm thinking to myself, I remember this moment, I'm thinking to myself, if she doesn't drop, am I ever going to get her? Like,
Wow.
where is this going to go? She's not dropping. And I had actually done a bit of a flurry of knees, not as many before that, and then got her again.
Yeah.
A very close concession. I'm thinking, this girl is not going down. And I knew
she's
it,
tough. There's no doubt.
and it was crazy. Watching it back, it's maybe 10 seconds before the end of the round. But in my head, I was halfway through and I was going pretty hard. And I'm thinking, I'm going to give my all in these knees. And if she doesn't drop me, I'm going to be stuffed.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where you think, well, I've given it everything now.
Yeah.
What is it? I've
Yeah.
got nothing
So
left.
lucky she did drop. Unlucky that I need her in the face. Like, it wasn't on purpose for sure. And you can see that. And I think that's helped with the replay is you can see she did drop midway through.
Yeah.
So then I stepped back thinking like she's on the floor and the ref, I saw in my peripherals come in and he's from Muay Thai. He's reffed me before. So I think he's very used to doing the whole 8 count. But he sort of ran in, ready to give an 8 count. But I should have followed up and went to the floor to finish.
Yeah.
Being MMA, you can go to the ground.
Yeah.
But also the confusion because I did knee her in the nose is like, am I allowed to continue? Like, should I even continue?
So you're caught between
It's
have
rest-
I
yeah.
done the wrong or the right thing?
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it to tell me
Yeah.
that? Do I do the honourable thing and just maybe stop and wait to be told?
Yeah.
And then potentially even lose the fight?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And what a swirl of thoughts to be going on within microseconds as well.
So what I did is you can see on the video, I think I glanced over at my corner and they sort of were in a bit of confusion as well, but they just went, keep going, keep going, keep going. So
Yeah, I think you made the right decision. And when you watch it back, I mean, it's literally like 2 or 3 seconds. You know, she's gone down and she covered up. You step back because the referee came in really quickly. And then
like
you
he
looked,
was storming to stop.
and then you've just gone, okay, I
Yeah.
need to finish.
Yeah.
And that was the end.
it's
So
not over until the ref calls it, you know.
Well, it's really interesting that you say that you're anticipating perhaps an 8 count in that scenario, because that actually makes much more sense now being a casual observer of that whole thing playing out, because he did definitely lunge in, as you might in MMA, to stop the fight rather than an 8 count. But he's made that quick move and then...
It's like he's getting ready to, but out of the corner of your eye. And in that sort of situation, you think, oh, he's called it off because I need her in the nose. You know, you don't know what's going on.
And you don't want to do something in that moment as a fighter to potentially disqualify yourself either.
Exactly. And you already think, oh, I've done it now, you know, going so well, and I've just kneed her in the face.
Yeah.
it was a bit of strange rules with that. So the amateurs, you're not allowed to knee to the head when they're standing. Is that correct?
I think at all,
At all?
At all. No knees to the face.
Wow.
Yep.
Strange.
I know you can do anything else. The most brutal sport, you can knee to the face in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
You can't in MMA. I guess it saves your head, especially when you've been punched with the little gloves. So it is a good rule.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's weird to me that was, I haven't heard of that rule
It's a
before.
good rule if you're the one being kneed in the head.
Right, yeah.
Not if you're the kneer.
I know on the ground you can't.
one day
but I didn't realise in the amateur that it was even standing.
Yeah.
But you can head kick and all the rest of it. It's just so strange, isn't it? It's like you can throw a full force head kick to somebody, but you can't throw a knee. It's like, okay, we've come up with these rules.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, exactly.
No head kicks and knees, or
Right, yeah.
And unlike, I guess, like you don't have a football player that, well, rarely would you have a football player, say, that then goes and plays Gaelic football on the weekend and then plays gridiron and then goes down and plays some rugby. And that's kind of what mixed martial artists do, don't they? You know, and so you'll have a discipline that perhaps you're more entrenched in, like Muay Thai.
Yep.
But ultimately, you're generalist, and within that scope, you've really got to attune yourself within a very short period of time to a whole different rule set.
For sure. So I'd been training Ju Jitsu about a year and a half before that fight. And so I was pretty good. I knew what to do on the ground. But the main training was actually combining those two together.
Yeah.
So it's the combination for sure.
Yeah.
So you can be good at Jiu Jitsu, you can be good at Muay Thai. But if you can't meld them together, you're not going to be a good MMA fighter.
Exactly, and you saw that with your defense in that first round against the judo throw, and then the second as well, where you managed to get, so she took you down, but you manipulated the position and got on her back and the seatbelt position and managed to get up to use that to get back to standing. And it was from that, you know, whenever somebody uses so much energy to get a takedown, and then the opponent gets up.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
that disheartened, like,
Yeah.
oh no.
For sure.
So they have to do it all over again if they want to go to the ground. So yeah, it was, and that's when you started the knees. It's like, oh, I've got up and here's my knee in your body as well. So yeah, it was great.
It's funny, the back and forth and the momentum, because that interplay of, I'm sure she felt that disheartenment when she wasn't able to get you down, and kind of felt, that was my move. And then you kind of had your move, which was with the knees. And then when that almost didn't work, and you can almost see the tipping points in fights, can't you? As
her throws and her takedowns were awesome, but it just needed the follow on. And that would have been the same for me. Like, my knees were awesome, but if it didn't get the TKO, it would have been like, damn, what do I do now?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So you've just taken another MMA fight.
Yeah.
And how does your training change anything from pre-camp to camp now?
Yep. Massively.
So what will change over the next week that you weren't doing last week, for instance?
More chocolate biscuits, I think.
Yeah, feel
No.
free. Take them off.
Not on video for my coach to see.
Not anywhere where Dad can see it anyway.
That one missing one wasn't me. Definitely not. So in the mornings, I'll start either doing running or a strength and conditioning or a bike ride, something in the morning to get me moving. So I'll normally go for a round about 3K run, just nice and quick before work, or a strength and conditioning session. And then afterwards, after work, I do my normal sessions. So we've got Monday, Tuesday double sesh. Wednesday I'll do something at my home gym with my dad, so he'll hold pads, which is very handy. Thursday, I don't do anything on the mornings on Thursday, sorry, but I have triple session after work.
Is that today?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So this is like...
And what does a triple session look like?
So we've got 1 hour of advanced Ju Jitsu. We've got an hour of intermediate Ju Jitsu, which I'll take a bit easier. So I'll go hard for the first sesh. Second sesh will just be moving. I'll have as many rounds out as I need. I'll just keep warm. And then, so it's 2 sessions, but 3 hours.
Sure.
And then I'll have an MMA session.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you combining all of those aspects? So with the jiu-jitsu, that you've gone, okay, with grappling, I need to work, my striking is good. I've got the Muay Thai style covered. And then it's like, you've gone, okay, I need to work on the grappling if I'm going to go into MMA. Is it that you've gone, okay, I'm just going to go with jiu-jitsu? Have you looked at wrestling? Have you looked at judo and those things as well?
I think I mainly, for the last one, looked at jiu-jitsu and then wrestling for MMA. So, all that cage work, wrestling on the ground, getting back up. But after being judo thrown, I would really like to have a go at doing that to someone.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Well, getting thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sort of an underutilized aspect of
For
MMA.
sure. I didn't know what to do when she did it to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm most of the time, I'm in the minority when I'm at training. So I'm smaller, I'm a female, younger than everyone else. So no one's going to go up to me and throw me. So being thrown was very new to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I'm in the air for a long time. And I'm pretty high up. And then I'm being slammed on the ground.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and not knowing what to do when they start that position and not really knowing what's actually going to happen was weird.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything to stop it. So I sort of had to get thrown and then work from there.
Right.
So I would like to work on defending that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being able to do it.
Yeah, well, you see, Ronda Rousey, judo background and won, I think, 10 or 11 fights, first round judo throw armbar, within a minute.
Insane.
Over and over and over. And everyone knew what she was going to do. They couldn't stop her.
I feel like it's one of those things that how do you stop it? You sort of just have to not get in that position in the first place.
That's right. Yeah, it was sort of when Holly Holm ended up beating her for the title in Melbourne, and she used a lot of footwork. She stayed very much away from letting Ronda get near her, and then when she did grab hold of her, it was very much defensive, get away positioning. She didn't let herself get pressed against the cage. I think she actually took Ronda down at one point just to sort of get her down to get away. So
if you're going to do it in that sort of situation, it has to be on your terms. You can only go to the ground if it's on your terms.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of, I've seen it with a lot of the MMA guys that they have this amazing takedown, but it's they hit the floor and they don't secure the position that they land in. And it's like they hit the floor, they're like, yes, I got the takedown, and the opponents get straight back up. It's like, oh, what did I, I got to take him down again.
So much energy for nothing.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's why, we expected to be taken down, so we were working a lot on our sprawling and avoiding it. But if it does happen, how do I go from there? That's
right. Yeah, it was seeing that sort of progression through the UFC and like the techniques that athletes were using. Because when wrestlers would take somebody down, it was almost like somebody who was proficient in Ju Jitsu would accept the takedown, and then they would get the guard, and they would start working from there. The wrestler would be trying to hold top position, that sort of thing. But then when you see guys like Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell especially, whenever he would get taken down, he would hit the floor and immediately he would pop his hips to the side and then start working to get up. People were like, what? How does he keep getting up? And then it's like, oh, he's this legendary takedown defense. It's like, well, no, he's getting taken down, but he's
just not accepting the
takedown.
Right.
That's right. And so, that was that sort of, people had to sort of amalgamate their skills okay, when I get the takedown, it is hold that position when you land and don't let them move out of that spot. So, because, otherwise they're going to scramble and then they might, reverse the position like you did with Samara. Or
in the first round, I was so close. Yeah. It's like that bell just went at the wrong time. 10 extra seconds.
Yeah, well, you got there in the second round, so that was awesome. Yeah, so, and MMA is the path you think you'll be following?
For sure. I didn't want to, before I had my first fight, I was sort of like, I wonder if I'll like it enough or if I'll just rather do jiu-jitsu comps and Muay Thai fights. But after that fight, I am in love. That is it for me.
That was the first MMA one?
Yeah.
And why? And what was the... What can you put that feeling down to?
Was it because Dave was the announcer?
I think so.
It may be a factor. I don't think we solicited
and
that.
And it does help that DFC is such a good promotion and it's so professionally run. And it is a professional show. You just feel like a UFC fighter. You feel like you're doing it,
Yeah.
Having my first fight, I felt incredible. You're just so popular and the crowd is awesome and it's all lights, camera, action, and some people don't like that, but I just love it, and I love the cage.
So you feed off that energy of the people, the crowd.
The walkout song like that, the crowd loved it. It went really hard. It sounded really good. It got me in the zone. It sets the mood, sets the vibe, and you can see a lot of people after my friends after watching my fight go, "You looked so angry." Because I was. I was in it.
Yeah, you're about to fight somebody.
Yeah.
My immediate impression was when you came into the cage, you were the most high energy of the athletes for the night. Like when you came in, not unnecessarily exuberant, but your energy, you were in the zone, but you genuinely looked like you were enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas you can understand that some people are going to have their hesitations or they might be, deeply in consideration. But you were just like,
that is so good that you picked up on that, because I definitely felt that. I've said to people yes, MMA's, I guess, known as being more brutal than Muay Thai, but I felt more confident and less nervous being in that MMA cage than Muay Thai, and I don't know why. I couldn't put it down to a single thing.
Yeah.
But and another thing that helped is, I visualized this is my cage sort of thing, you're coming into my cage. And it was good that I walked out first, because it was like she was coming in.
Yeah.
But at the weigh-in and at the fight, she didn't look me in the eyes. Yeah. So she did her lap around the ring and I was standing there and she looked over top of me and I went, okay, I've got her. I've got her.
Yeah. Like the Mike Tyson stare, I'm going to keep looking at you until you look away.
I've never been into the whole stare down, I'm going to look at you and intimidate you. But something about the whole MMA, I don't know, because Muay Thai is very, I'm not saying MMA isn't, but Muay Thai is very traditional, it's very respectful. And I hugged her at the weigh-in, I hugged her during the fight, during the fight, after the fight.
I need it to the face.
Yeah. Gave her a little, one of those. But yeah, I don't know. It's the different. It is a vibe.
So it's that cultural difference between having reverence for the sport and the history of it, and whereas with MMA, there's not that same tradition.
You don't bow when you
So
go
there's
into the
more-
cage.
It's just
There's
you're
more
there to
sports-
smash somebody.
Yeah.
There's more sportsmanship
Yeah.
involved, I think,
Yeah.
in where you are there there's other elements to it which you're allowed to play out because you don't have to be a little bit, you don't have to be a bit more withdrawn and respectful.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting me excited because it's
Yeah.
like
Me too.
that's what oh man, the first time I saw the UFC, I was just like, oh my god.
But yeah, it's hard to pinpoint, but that's what it is. It's that difference.
Mm.
Like, it's still respectful and you still don't hate the
Right.
opponent. But for that split second in the fight, you kind of do.
Yeah.
But like Muay Thai, you know, you bow. For my one of my Muay Thai fights, I did the Ramoy, which is the traditional sealing of the ring. You don't have time to, and you sort of get frowned upon if you're like, I guess, feeding into that ego or, you know, making like showboating.
Yes.
It's not like something that's very present in Muay Thai, which I think is good for the sport.
Yeah.
But MMA, it is.
Yeah.
It's not too much. Like, people don't go over the top or anything silly.
But you get more of an opportunity to express yourself in
sure.
MMA, whereas you are very much, whenever you're undertaking those rituals, you're undertaking rituals that have been undertaken thousands and thousands and thousands of times before, and it's not of you, whereas when you got your music going on and then you get out and you've got your energy in the ring now and you get the opportunity to manage that space you're in the way that you feels right for you in that moment. You can really be sitting very comfortably with yourself exactly the moment when you need to.
It is a selfish sport, I feel like, in that essence. It is about you in that moment. And if that works for you, then that's great.
And psychologically, like in that moment where your opponent's walked into the ring and won't make eye contact, and you said straight away, you thought, I've got you right there and then. Why did you feel that you went, why is she not? What did you think? What weakness did you see in her in that moment?
She was. I felt like she was scared, even if she wasn't. You feel it, and like that gave me more confidence, I guess. Yeah.
Very interesting, isn't it?
But jiu-jitsu's different again. Like, you'll be standing next to your opponent before you go, and you'll probably roll with them maybe 3 times throughout the day, depending on if you have different, are in different categories, or you go into open, you go into gi, no gi, and you know everyone, but you don't have the tradition. You bow on the mat. That's about it. You don't do a dance or a sealing of the ring or anything. You thank your opponent, you thank the ref, but you don't showboat, because you'll get told off in jiu-jitsu if you showboat, which again, it's just a different sport. That's not a bad thing.
No. One of the fantastic elements, I think, of MMA is that there is that showmanship, the gamesmanship. It's what draws people's attention to figures like Conor McGregor. Why do those pay-per-views sell so well? Because he builds a hype and excitement behind it. That's largely based on the personalities. It's not based on the sport or the tradition or the rituals or the whatever. It's because you want to see if his actions match his words. So whether he's going to bring it on the day.
People idolise him because he talks the talk, but he also can show up. He talks it because he can.
That's right. I think maybe that's what is the difference, is that, with MMA, it's very individualized and custom to whatever you want to do, whatever your style is. If you want to step in that cage and it's you can keep the fight standing, you can take people down, you can do this, you can do that. Whereas with Muay Thai, you're restricted to, the elements of those strikes, the 8 strikes. And
And I feel like MMA is like very much self-expression as well. In that you show your personality, like people have ring names. Very more common to have a ring name. Yeah, exactly.
And how did your ring name come about?
So that's a little bit of a joke that I had at Barossa Muay Thai. First of all, it came about because, my last name's Graetz, so it works. But the Great White, because I am very pale. And so a lot of my Muay Thai fights, I don't know why this happened, but I got matched up with a lot of tan and olive skinned people. And when you got all the lights on and the flash from the camera...
They're fighting a ghost.
Yes. I look like a piece of paper. I have no definition at all. It is white. So a lot of my fight photos came out with me looking like a ghost.
So you haven't considered bodybuilding?
Considered it, but the fake tan. And they don't fake tan their face. So could you imagine if
that
you're
is
like wearing
so
a
weird.
mask?
It is weird when there's like floating heads.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen that? I've done bodybuilding competitions, but yeah, it's the tan you put on is like a one use tan.
Was that this morning or
That was today. Yeah.
You can tell I did the same.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm about the same complexion that you are, I think. But
So how many bottles would you go through?
Oh, well, you get a little tub. It comes in like a hair gel tub.
Right.
And it's called Dream Tan. And essentially it is like paste. and you put it on and you put it on for...
This is rebranded Vegemite.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And it
Vegemite would work
It sticks
on a budget.
to everything. It sticks to like it gets on everything. So it's like you wait until the day of the competition and you go backstage and that's where you do all that. And everybody's back there in basically naked, getting tanned up by their assistant.
Imagine if you missed a spot.
Yeah, well, people do, and that's why it's quite funny because the inside of the leg or the bottom of the feet. People do the bottom of the feet, and they forget the bottom of the feet, and then they do the bottom of the feet, and then they walk around the carpet and leave footprints everywhere. The promoter's not happy about it. Going,
I lost my deposit.
Damn you, Dream Tan.
But like the fake tan, like we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but the fake tan is supposed to make your muscles more defined, right?
Yeah.
Under the lights, like you said, if you got lights on you and you don't have a tan, you can't see you.
No, but who's looking at the bottom of your feet for muscles?
Yeah,
What
no,
is the
that's
need?
right. But it does stand out
for
as
sure.
an
I bet it
obvious.
would.
Like if you
It
are
reflects.
if you're doing a pose from the back and you want to show your calf muscle, you've got to lift your leg, and your feet are going to be blindingly white if you don't have a tan on it. So
And the judges are like,
oh God, what's he doing? He's an amateur here, calf.
I never made the IFBB.
Footprints. And,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, but that tan is so hard to get off as well. Yeah, and your sheets will for the next 3 or 4 nights. Like you might as well just buy new sheets. They're just
So is this your suggestion to Tahlia?
yeah. Go
like
and
for next time.
You would be greased up. Like
Well,
it would. It
the
would
great
be
what?
the great
what?
tan.
The great tan.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't suggest it.
The great orange.
Yeah, it's
That's up here. That's it.
yeah.
My hair.
You're basically like you've had melted chocolate covered you. Like off stage, you look completely ridiculous. On stage, you look quite good.
Golden.
A golden look.
Until you breathe.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But even like the under the eyes, will stand out,
Yep.
and with
Your
all
teeth would look so white.
That's
though.
right. That's right. Absolutely. If people put it through their hair, I don't know. It's the whole bodybuilding is very weird.
We'll have a bodybuilding episode.
Right, okay.
We'll have some IFBB judges actually coming in for an
yeah.
episode. Yeah, very soon.
yeah.
So, it is a peculiar sport, and of all of the strength sports, it's
the weird
it's
thing-
the one that matches vanity and
Yeah.
insecurity just perfectly.
Yeah. It is such a strange thing, and I've talked about this with a few of the guys in the gym, where it's like, okay, in the gym, you're lifting weights, you're trying to get as strong as possible, and you're trying to get as muscular or whatever as possible. How does it go from I'm in the gym doing bench press to I'm standing on stage in my underwear with fake tan with a shaved body posing to music?
Yep.
How did they make that leap?
That is such a good point. I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, and it is very weird because it's sort of like as somebody's dieting for the competition, maybe it's the same as like a training camp where it's like, oh yeah, how many weeks out you got to go, and you're getting ripped in it, and then it's like now you're shaved, now you're getting tanned, now
Imagine
you're
if-
practicing your posing to music, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Imagine if MMA fighters did that. Like, I got to shave my whole body. I got to tan.
yeah, yeah, it's a weird element, and then it's like
Maybe there's ideas for Ike for the the next big
Yeah.
DFC event.
That's right. Yeah, we're coming up with
Or
all
Apex.
this stuff here. Yeah,
Well, maybe.
This is a new thing. We've cotton onto it here.
I'm sure he's taking notes.
Yeah, that's right. He's a big fan of the show. But no, it is such a weird thing. And then so you're on stage, literally posing to music
Yeah.
in front of a crowd, and it's like, look at my muscles, look at how big they are, look how defined I am. And it's like, this is weird. This is very weird. And especially when somebody has to tan you, like say you
can't even do it yourself.
No.
Where's the dignity?
Yeah. I had, I'll stop that sentence halfway
Is that
through.
for another episode?
Yeah. Some of the people that I've had to use to do it, it's like,
You've had to get to.
yeah, because it's like, you would
Can you get my
ideally,
back?
pretty much. Can you get
My
this
things?
area and and
those bits need doing.
that's right. Because if you don't, though, you will see it on
judges.
stage. Didn't have a helper. It's like trying to put sun cream on yourself, and you always miss that bit on your back. There's
I feel that.
yeah,
I burn very easily.
So do I. I got burnt when it was raining once.
Same. This is a pale person experience. However, it was in Thailand, overcast, raining.
Yeah.
5-minute walk from the beach back to the hotel,
Wow.
burnt.
Wow. Yeah,
That's when you know you're in the wrong country. That's when God's giving you some.
When you know you're in the wrong country, when all the Thais in the camp think I'm this goddess because I'm so pale and have blonde eyelashes and blonde eyebrows. It's crazy.
So that's revered. That's
yes. I used to get.
So that's what goddesses actually do look like if you're in Thailand.
I do.
Yeah.
That's why you want to go back.
Yeah. I used
They've
to
got a
get.
little throne
Yeah.
and there's flowers planted.
I would sit on the edge of the ring and they would wrap my hands for me for the sessions. Yep.
Really?
They did make fun of me, however.
This wasn't in kickboxer.
No. They, you go to Thailand to be tough, but I go to Thailand to get my hands wrapped for me.
Wow.
They would slap my legs and arms and stuff because they thought it was funny that a red handprint would show up because they'd never no one does that, that doesn't happen to them. And then I was walking to the gym and one of the trainers.
So people are just little children of the village are just coming up and slapping it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, just the guys in the gym.
Miss.
Yeah, all the Thai trainers just thought it was hilarious. So funny. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so I was walking to the gym one time and one of the trainers walked past and I was walking with my dad. Or actually, sorry, he scooted past and my dad was walking with me. And he's like, "Oh, Tahlia, come, I'll give you a lift. And Dad just had to walk, but I got a lift.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you look back over your shoulder like, oh.
Pretty much. See you, Dad.
Yeah.
Goddess
Have
status.
fun.
Have fun walking.
Yeah.
I'll be at the gym waiting for you.
I'm sure there's a country where you're a god too, Dad. But anyway, it ain't here.
Yeah. This is my town.
That's right, it's my town. That's awesome. So you were in Thailand you've been there twice.
Yeah.
First time was a holiday, sort of.
Yeah.
Holiday
Training
camp.
Yeah.
Right. And second time.
Same deal.
Oh, same deal.
So I always begged my parents. I want to fight in Thailand. All right, well, the first time we'll just go because we haven't been overseas. So we'll just suss it out. We'll do some training, see what the deal is. And then we'll go again. And then you can fight. So that never happened.
Oh.
We got to there and I'm like, okay, I want to fight. And they said, but we don't really want to end up in a Thai hospital.
Oh.
And I said, fair enough. Me neither.
Yeah.
I do want to fight, but I don't trust, I'd fought with elbows, I think, at that point, but with headgear and elbow pads because I was under 18. So fighting with elbows was a very scary concept, especially against a Thai.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So I've been doing that since I was 3.
yeah. And imagine if you get a cut in Thailand, having to go get it stitched up would just be a nightmare.
It's the same guy that rode past on the scooter.
Yeah,
He does
yeah.
that.
on the scooter. You sit on the scooter.
I take you home. No problem.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's crazy.
So plans to go back when the whole crazy world settles
For
down
sure.
again?
I'd love to. Yeah. And probably go to the same camp again.
Okay.
I went to Koh Samui. They've got a gym there, and I think it's just called the Koh Samui Lamai camp.
Okay.
But WBC camp or something like that. It's been a while since I've been there, but it's awesome, so good, and I'd probably just go straight back. Yeah. There was a year between my first trip and my second trip, and they all remembered me, remembered my name, knew exactly who me and Dad were.
You'd remember a goddess.
Yeah.
In your village, wouldn't you?
She's returned.
Yes, she's back.
Does she still have the mug?
Yeah. Hey! The hypercolor skin.
Yeah.
It's white, now it's red.
Pretty much. Magic.
Wow, that's crazy. So, so when you were training there, did you go with a trainer? One of my mates has been over there a few times, and he'll pay like one of their trainers to do one-on-one sessions, and so he's got exclusive sort of work with this guy.
Yeah.
Was it that, or you were doing group sessions, or?
It was a bit of both. So mainly group sessions, but me and Dad like to do a couple of one-on-ones. We sort of started doing the one-on-ones when at the camp, like let's say I was like probably 15 15. There was these really big dudes there, like massive bodybuilder looking dudes.
Or
what was that, sorry?
Thai guys?
Oh, no. So they were coming to train.
As big as Dave?
As big as Dave, like.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Massive.
Hard to believe.
And so they were like from France or Poland or Russia. Like,
Oh, yeah, they'd be Polish.
yeah, massive dudes. And I thought, we had to all swap around sparring with everyone. So when I got to him, I thought, like he'll obviously see I'm young and small.
Maybe you just thought you were a funny looking Thai kid.
This one's an albino.
Get it?
Yeah, and sure enough, no discrimination there. He got me on the snout with
Wow.
and I had a blood nose and all the.
Does Dad jump in at that stage?
Dad didn't even know what was going on. So all the Thai trainers had gathered around like, oh no, like got like some water, poured it over my head, got me some tissues, like were looking after me, like basically told him, go.
Yeah.
He didn't understand.
Yeah,
he didn't
no.
understand your status.
Yeah. The
Right.
big, let's say, Polish dude was like shunned.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, we were like, there's some brutes in the gym. We're just going to do PTs when they're around.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that. There's a lot of the sort of people that foreigners who were coming in, and they might not have the skills, and they just go way too hard on other people.
Yeah, it's that like level of, experience versus control.
Yeah.
So you can be a great fighter, but if you can't control it, then what's the point?
Yeah. And having good training partners is so important. And it's like with us with arm wrestling. I mean, the last thing you want to do if somebody's coming in for the first time, or if they're new to the sport, you want to let them work and sort of you're both sort of getting the skill from it,
For sure.
as opposed to just smashing people.
Yeah, that's something I'm really thankful for being at the gyms that I have been at. So like Bros and Muay Thai, and then during COVID, Dad had to shut down. We were only a small gym. We'd only charge $5 per session.
Right.
We weren't making profit. We were doing it for like the love.
Yeah.
So during COVID, it just got a bit too much. So we merged with Element, and Dad became the striking coach there. So those are the two gyms that I've been at, other than my boxing gym, but they're the same deal. Like I've been so lucky with the training partners. There's never any egos. Everyone's so respectful, and goes that level of you will get better, but you won't get hurt.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going to go easy on you. Like I know what you're capable of, but I'm also not going to bash you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to push the limits.
And protect yourself. Like you don't want to be training injured. And as again, what you said with like head injuries, I'm not going to try and take your head off or knock you out.
Yeah.
Like you got to preserve that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is
You
there-
got Apex for that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
right. It's
yeah.
coming up. March the 12th will be the
March the
Apex
12th
at
at the
Norwood
Norwood Oval.
Norwood Oval.
Yeah.
Tickets can be bought on the diamondbackfc.com website. If you want to see Tahlia the Graetz taking on an unnamed fighter.
We have no need to know what a
No,
name
it's
is.
just
I
not
feel.
important.
No.
It's
just my
there's only-
opponent.
Yeah.
The goddess, maybe you
That's
should-
how-
you
that's
could
how
be
she'll be known to everybody in
The
the
great
future.
goddess, or the great white goddess. Yeah.
I think that's getting a bit long.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have enough room.
No, I agree. Just shoot my ideas. I'll sit here and be quiet.
You know what? I'll have two ring names. You can choose.
Oh, yeah, we can mix
You
it
can,
up.
you could say, which one would you pick if you were going to pick? Or are you going to see how the crowd feels?
Yeah, I think we'd leave it to the crowd. I think it's always best to leave it.
The goddess. The great white. Yay.
People start booing.
Yeah. Boo.
Imagine your ring name was that bad. Their people just went boo.
Oh, the worst nickname, Twinkle Toes. Frank Twinkle Toes Trigg. Ridiculous. I've met him as well. Yeah, he was never introduced as that. I think that they just was like, we're not saying that. That's so stupid.
Oh, he came up with that and thought it would be a great
I
idea.
don't know, but that's his nickname.
You
But
can't
That's
have
his
a-
nickname in real
Twinkle
life.
Toes. It is, yeah. It's his fighting nickname.
So, do you have a nickname in real life, like a non-stage nickname name?
On stage.
Not really.
Just a one.
Not a nickname, but people just like shorten my name to Tiles.
Tiles.
Yeah.
Tiles.
Tiles.
Yeah.
Very bogan.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I like it. Yeah. And so with the big fight coming up, you're just about to start your camp. You've got a diet starts to change. No more of this.
Yeah. Who ate that? Who's been eating
and,
that?
Put them back. No.
So as you go through the camp, what changes in the last week or two as you start to get closer and closer to the big fight?
So in the last week or two, I'll definitely tone down on the sparring. So it won't be. I'll still spar, but it won't be as hard. Just to avoid any injuries.
And do you bring in sparring partners that are similar in physicality to your opponents?
So our
like really tanned people?
No, but I do spar with a ranger. So yeah. We look very similar.
Yeah, just fighting the reflection.
Yeah.
So when the lights are on and people were going, "This, I can hear people fighting. I just can't see anything."
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So Element Barossa, we have sister gym Element Adelaide. So they've got a couple, few more facilities there. So they've got an actual MMA cage, not a full size, but still a cage, which was very useful in my last camp because I'd never actually experienced the cage before. So been going up there every weekend, and I'll train with Sam Warren there. So. And he's my sort of size, weight, and he's very experienced, but also very controlled. Okay. So he was very good to spar with.
Is it typical for female fighters to have a male fighter help them prepare towards him?
For me, for sure, because there's no one. There's no one else I could choose. So I have to just find sparring partners that are relatively my size. And I don't actually mind if they're a bit bigger because it actually does help me. Yeah. But they just have to know their level and my level as well, which I have no issue with.
So you really got to have a lot of trust in that person because you are so close to the fight at a really critical point in your camp. So, Sam is somebody that you've worked with before in preparation for a fight?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, just with the DFC. But I have rolled with him a couple of times and we get along really well. And
excellent.
Yeah.
Is there, with the reduced competitiveness side with in terms of there's not that many girls doing it. Do you see any way that you could sort of get more women that are interested in it, or have you had people come up to you like that have seen your fights and go, "Oh wow, how do I get involved in it? And you've inspired me," or that sort of thing?
That is something I did not realize at all was that people are watching, and especially young girls. So at the last DFC, as I was walking out the ring, a young, I think she was 11 or 13, year-old girl came up to me and she said, "I want to be just like you." That was so cool. And it kind of shocked me because I was thinking I'm the one that says that to other people, That was just absurd to me. I didn't know what to say. I was taken aback, but I just,
That's
so
cool.
there are girls out there that want to do it. And people at the gym, when they showed their kids, and especially girls, when they showed them the video of my fight, they said, "I want to do that. I want to do that."
Isn't that interesting? And what do you? I mean, traditionally, maybe that wasn't the case where girls would be encouraged to fight. Given that your mum and dad have been super encouraging, had you ever felt any of that kind of institutional resistance to a young woman entering the fight game?
Yeah, a lot of people, like adults back in the day, would be like, "Oh, really? You want to fight? That's a bit weird." Or I don't know. It wasn't because living in the Barossa, it's a bit more rural, so. You've got footy and netball.
And wine.
And wine. But yeah.
Look at the bicep.
Footy and wine. Oh, footy and wine. Footy and netball.
And wine.
So anyone that sort of does anything a bit different is very much an outsider. So I didn't feel that too much, but I definitely was an outsider. So I didn't have all the friend groups from netball. I wasn't in that scene. Yeah. So people didn't get it. They didn't realize, so you fight, you do karate.
And like you say, I didn't even really give thought to that previously. But so how did that impact on your schooling life and your interactions with other people that weren't in the fight world?
It was different for sure. So everyone had these big friend groups, and they knew, I know her through netball, I know him through football, like, his mum used to do this with the netball committee, rah, rah, rah. I didn't have that. So I just had the friends that I had at high school.
Yeah.
And none of my friends have ever been to any of my fights.
Oh,
because
right.
it's just so, like, how do you get into that if you're not brought into it?
Yeah.
So I'd love to go with my friends to a fight, but it's sort of like every time they want to go, it's when I'm fighting. So I can't, it's a scary environment to go to, but it's not actually scary.
Yeah.
So, you rock up to a fight night and what do you do? Like, it's not like you have anyone telling you where to go, what to do, the etiquette, If I went to a netball match, I'd be like, what do I do again? Like, do I yell, like, kill him,
Yeah, kill them. Take the knees out.
Yeah. Punch him in the face. Yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's very different. It was like I was the only one doing it where I came from, so no one really knew what it was about until I started, the MMA or like the high-level Muay Thai, when I had my first 5-round fight. That was big. And people sort of like, when you have more of a social media presence and you can show them videos and photos of you doing it, they actually realize, oh my goodness, you're actually punching them in the face. It's not like...
Yeah, they don't have any reference as to what you actually do.
Yeah, no, not
they
at all.
see it, yeah.
But especially when I moved to MMA, everyone knows MMA because you just, like when you say to people, I do MMA, they go, what's that? Oh, UFC. Oh, yeah, like Conor McGregor, you know. Yeah.
Cage fighting.
Yeah.
I always say cage fighting. It's just easier for people.
I say cage.
Go, oh.
Yeah, I say cage fighting, and people go, like an underground fight ring.
Yeah,
like,
it's the Kumite, secret ancient streets of China.
It's in a parking garage.
And so what was the reaction within your peers then? Were people like a little bit taken aback, or they weren't sure how to approach you? Or
Well, I don't know. I think it was not sure how to approach it. Like, just didn't know. It's not like they were trying to be like, rude or mean or didn't want to hear a bar of it. It's just like strange to them. I guess.
And I guess from most people's perspective, when they're doing what they love and they're surrounded by people that are super supportive, for the most part, the rest of the world doesn't really matter that much anyway.
And when there's this 16-year-old girl sitting there eating rations for lunch, they're like, "Why aren't you eating?" Because I've got to fight. What does that have to do with anything? Yeah. And when you say fighter, they do not. The first thing that you think when you hear fighter, especially when you see me, is not like actually fighting.
Yeah.
It's just like it's weird.
Yeah.
Like their perception of you is not what it actually is.
Cognitive dissonance between looking at you and that picture in somebody's mind of what a fighter would be.
Well, at my work, when they found out that I was like a fighter, they said, "Oh, we've got someone that does the same thing as you, and he's this massive, like 6-foot dude. He's huge." And then there's me, like, "Oh yeah, I did the same thing."
Do you want to fight?
Yeah, and you kick the crap out of him.
I don't think so. I'd like to think, but probably not.
There's only one way to find out.
In the lunchroom.
Isn't it funny though that like when you're doing something that's different to what the society deems as the norm, like if it's footy and netball and wine, if it's those elements and it's like, okay, everyone understands that, the group that you're living in, the community, football, we know football, we know the AFL and all the rest of it, netball, but when you're doing that different thing and it's like, oh, that's so, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know. It's some sort of punching thing.
Yep.
But when you find success in it, or when people actually say, "Oh, no, she's doing really well. Like she's fighting for a title, or she's doing, she won a recent fight," and then that's where they're like, "Oh, I know that girl." Oh, they want to jump all over it and be like, "Oh, yeah, I was."
So Muay Thai isn't very prevalent in the Barossa. However, so I'd always fight in the city, or always on Nisa Fury or in Whyalla. But they had. They brought Barossa Blitz back, which was a fight show in Tanunda originally, but then it was in Angaston when they brought it back. So my dad fought on Barossa Blitz.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it sort of dropped off. Nisa Fury was really big. It always was big. But then during that sort of hard COVID period, I think it was, or just before that, Barossa Blitz came back in Angaston. And I was fighting an interstate opponent. And because it was in the Barossa, so many people heard about it. So many people were more likely to come because it was 10 minutes away instead of an hour away in the city. And I had, like, everyone in the crowd I felt like I knew. And especially the fact that it was an interstate opponent. you know, they're going to go for the hometown girl.
Yeah.
And so I think even though I wasn't like main event or anything, I got the biggest cheer of all because it was like, this is the hometown girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's from down the street.
Yeah,
You're
pretty
like,
much. And
I'm from down the street too.
I live next door to her.
Right, yeah.
It's crazy the difference it makes having to drive 10 minutes to a fight compared to like an hour in the city.
Yeah.
Like that is the worst thing about fighting is the nervous drive beforehand. I
Really,
swear.
yeah?
Yeah.
Have you had to do much into interstate travel for fights?
Yeah, I fought in Melbourne and in Queensland. Yep.
And how was that different?
There's no one that knows you.
Yeah.
So one of the fights, I think it was my first in Melbourne. I was actually quite lucky because the girl's name was Tahlia.
Oh.
So I was fighting Tahlia.
Right.
And so everyone's cheering, go Tahlia, go Tahlia. I'm like, go me.
I am going.
Yeah. So there's no one that knows you. It's like you're staying in a hotel, so you don't really know how your sleep's going to be. Like it's more comfortable when you're in your own bed. You know what's going on. But when you're in a hotel, it's like a bit strange. It just feels different.
Yeah.
I was lucky I did have my parents there because they were also my coaches. So it was just me, mum and dad in Melbourne. I'd been interstate a couple times. But yeah, it was really different. You don't have that support system or someone you can just go, hey, you know, you don't know anyone. And the scene over there is way different too.
Okay.
Way different. You talk about like Queensland back in the day, Muay Thai, it's like cowboy country. You'd sort of say, Dad has these stories where he'd say, he'd be in Queensland and say, oh, we need to get our wraps checked off by the doctor or like doctor check. You need a doctor. Why do you need a doctor? Are you okay? It's like, no, just like for the check before the fight.
Yeah.
You have a doctor here, right? Oh, St. John's are on like speed dial.
Triple O.
No, they don't. Yeah, and none of the refs check the wraps beforehand, so you could put whatever you wanted in them. Yeah.
Gummy bears.
Yep.
Sprinkles.
Halfway through the
Marshmallows.
fight. Yeah. Yeah, it was so weird. We were like, I hear that story and I just go,
Yeah, that's the underground world, isn't it?
yeah.
Ooh.
Cowboy country.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Melbourne,
Still, it's a very young age to fight in Queensland, from what I understand, like 10 or 12.
Yeah. I think it's Siam Cup, or in Queensland is like the sort of made for kids to fight. So when I watched one of the Siam Cups in Queensland when I was over there, it was like the whole show was kids. There's so many kids just doing it. It's like footy or anything else.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's, but they would be wearing protective gear and that sort of thing, and reduced striking elbows, knees, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're doing it,
Yeah, it's cool.
which is, I think is
The
awesome.
wraps weren't getting checked, though, so it was all glass in
It
there.
was
But,
just pure glass and nails. And
Yeah, rocks.
rocks.
Yeah, like I think it was in Queensland. Yeah, I think I've fought interstate twice, maybe three. No, I think it's twice.
Okay.
In Queensland, my dad wrapping my hands because he was the only one there with me. It was just me and him. Him wrapping my hands beforehand. He's shaking.
Oh, was he?
And it's like, like that. Do you want me to do it? Like, would it be better if I did it? But
Wow.
he was so nervous, not because he didn't believe in me, but because it was his daughter.
yeah,
You know.
it's
Yeah.
such a big moment.
Yeah, and he's like that before sort of all of my fights, but I normally have someone else wrapping my hands.
Yeah.
So,
You learnt your lesson after that first time.
yeah.
It sounds like it's been a fantastic way for you and mum and dad as you've grown older to really stay connected.
For sure. That's a big part of it. Like mum as well, but mainly dad because I'm training with him every single night. So like some other people that might go to training and then they go home, they eat dinner with their family, but that's sort of it. Whereas I'm like for at least an hour every day with my dad training in the gym.
Yeah.
And when we do Ju Jitsu now, like we always sort of partner each other for majority of it.
Yeah.
So like at least once every session we'll go together. So we're hanging out really.
Yeah. Is that hard in some part because you can't really get away from it? Well,
Yeah, sometimes if if you're a little bit upset with, if he's upset with me or if I'm upset with him, it's like, well, I'm going to training, but I am too.
All right,
Can
see
you
you there.
just stay home? No.
5 rounds of body shots. Here we go.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, we're sparring tonight.
Yeah.
Nah, it's-
How are you with your jiu-jitsu proficiency? You feel pretty comfortable? Like you've developed, a game that are you using it more for a defensive, or you're really offensive with your jiu-jitsu sort of positionings?
In MMA, I feel like I'm a bit more defensive, but I would like to move to offensive because I am comfortable with my skills. I got my blue belt late last year, so
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And I've been doing it for long enough now, like almost 2 years, that I feel pretty confident in it. But I'm just more confident in my striking.
Yeah.
So I think I have more of a chance kneeing someone than trying to go for like a rear naked choke.
Do you have a certain move that you like, both in striking and in grappling, that it's like, this is my thing, I'm going to be going for this? The knee is obviously one of the big things.
Yeah, in striking, probably the knees.
Yeah.
And Dad always used to say to me, like, you're going to get someone with that knee one day. You're going to TKO someone with that knee.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. You've
Yeah.
done it.
He was looking in the crystal ball.
And it used to be head kicks as well.
Oh.
I was very good at head kicks because like the flexibility. Anything like that Thai style. So really good in the clinch with my knees. Head kicks and push kicks were good.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu competitions, I've found that I get a lot of arm bars.
Okay.
A lot of arm bars and actually no-gi Ezekiel chokes, which is really strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ezekiel.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
very brutal. So,
Yeah, that's weird.
especially in no-gi.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just pull them off.
So off the floor, off your back, you're getting somebody that's on top of you.
So I'm on top.
Oh, you're
Yep.
doing it from the top.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, right. I hate the Ezekiel. I got choked with that.
I hate it being done to me. I hate it being done to me. And, but when you do it to someone, it's so good.
Yeah,
because
it's great
you've
if
done
you do it with somebody
You
else.
sort of look down and you just watch them.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's basically a rear naked choke in reverse.
Yeah,
best,
yeah.
yeah.
You can look into their eyes.
Yeah, and they're like, your armpit is like, their
Yeah.
face is in there, and it's
And
like,
if you're really mean, instead of just slicing, you just go
oh,
punch it in.
oh,
A little bit of knuckle.
Yeah. Do you listen to Jocko like at all? He's a Navy SEAL commander. He has a podcast. He does jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he was talking about rolling with one of his, I think it was one of his Navy mates, who big strong guy, whatever, and had done a little bit of grappling. Anyway, Jocko's rolling with him and had him in the Ezekiel from the top position and broke his neck. Accidentally, like it's not. He's not paralyzed or anything.
Yeah.
He's fine, but it was like they heard a crack and they're like, oh, I'm going to stop. And then he was sore for a couple of days. Went and got it checked out, and he'd actually like fractured a certain section of his vertebrae had come away.
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah, it was just like, oh.
How did you not tap earlier?
Yeah, should have tapped, mate.
Tap early, train tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Don't break your neck.
Yeah, it's a
Tap
very
early, save your neck.
yeah. Should be a bumper sticker.
Yeah. A rash guard.
It's such a brutal thing.
Brought to you by
I think.
Element MMA.
Yeah.
Tap early.
When you first jumped on the mats in jiu-jitsu, were you just getting sort of brutalized? Like, even when people are sort of jumping all over you, it hurts.
Yeah, for sure. And like having a grown man sit on you was very strange.
Yeah.
Even though like I was in martial arts, I knew what I was sort of looking like I knew what was gonna happen. Clinching with guys, you're hugging, you're all up in their grill, you're sweating on each other. So I sort of had an expectation. But when you say like, all right, now you're gonna go into rear naked choke,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, rear naked.
Yes.
Or like, okay, now you're gonna
Can we do it without the naked?
Yeah. Or like being in guard, being in mount, like having someone sit on you, having them sit, like having to sit on them. At first it was really strange, but everyone is so used to it around you that it's just nothing. Like no one thinks of it in a weird way. So it's just,
Yeah.
but I can so see how like girls are put away, like from that, like turn away from that.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I don't know, if I wasn't into martial arts, I wouldn't be putting my hand up to go wrestle with a grown, sweaty man on
Like
some mat.
north-south position or something.
Oh my goodness. When I get into north-south, I'm a bit of a wuss and I tap. And I'm just like, get off me, please. Like, nothing good can come of this.
Yeah, that's right.
Please just get off. Or like I've been in like some sort of weird reverse, like some purple belt did this to me. Weird reverse triangle. My head was in his thighs, and I'm like, you're not even putting it on. Just get me out of here. Yeah.
We don't need to see how this ends.
No, I know exactly where this
weird
is going.
thing.
Yeah.
To get on, like, somebody's got you in guard and it's another guy and you're like, this isn't the position I would be in with a
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so foreign. you've got to sort of overcome that
Yep.
aspect. But when they start choking you out and like breaking your limbs, that's where it's like, okay, there's an element to this. I understand.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the guy I was training with for a while, he's heavier than me. He's like 120, but he would always let me get top position and sweep me, and it was so infuriating
Like,
because I
almost
would be
lets
on
you
top.
Get it just to sweep you.
Yeah, yes. And I was like, oh, I've got no. And then, every time. And then he's sitting on you in mount and he's 120 kilos on your chest and you can't breathe.
Well, you've got a good gym sort of culture when I can train, me being like, 58 kilos, a guy in the gym being 110, around that, and we can train and roll together.
Yeah.
So we've got a really big dude. And he's massive, he's tall, but he's the sweetest guy ever. He literally used to be in the military, and now he's training with us. And he's just so softly spoken, so nice. Whenever I roll with him, it's almost like the safest rolls I do have.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Because he's not trying to exert his strength
Yeah,
necessarily. He's just trying to get the movements
and
right.
it's just the control, and like, he's not going necessarily easy on me. If he gets me in a Kimura, he's going to finish it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's no...
But he's not trying to use his strength necessarily to do that. He's using it as an opportunity to get positioning. And
yeah, whereas my dad
technique.
will use his strength on me and will have no mercy at all. It's funny because, like, if anyone saw us and didn't know that we were related, they'd be like, what
has anybody ever stepped in and said, okay, all right, hang on, man. Leave this guy alone.
No, everyone likes to see where it goes. It's like the other day after training, we were just having a joke roll, and someone said, like, whoever loses has to do the laundry.
Oh.
I think that roll went on for like 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I think we ended up just both being like, all right, we're both going to do it. Like, no, we'll just make mum do it. Get my little sister to do it.
Wow. Do you get him in submissions like your dad?
A little bit.
A little bit, every now and then.
He'll probably listen to this. But all the time.
Does Dad let you do
How often and
frame it for
when,
Dad.
and what's his weakness?
He definitely doesn't let me, but he is so good at jiu-jitsu.
Oh, right.
And he's going to hear this and go, hell yeah. not to blow his horn, but he is very good. He's very good.
Is he?
And so he crossed over into BJJ.
Yeah, he's
from
obsessed
Muay Thai.
now. Yeah.
And when did he make that kind
Same
of
time as
transition?
me. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you kind of grown up in BJJ together.
Yeah, first session together. We train all the time together.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but
Did he get the blue belt?
yeah, I got it 5 minutes before him.
Oh,
though.
okay, well,
I
that
got it
counts.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which means that you're better,
yeah, for sure, of course.
Oh, that's crazy.
But yeah, he's a beast. He's
Oh, right.
he's 48, and he makes everyone look stupid.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I didn't really have a good session tonight, but I was watching him, and everyone's getting frustrated and like going their hardest on him. This dude.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, it's wonderful to see a daughter have tremendous admiration for their dad, but also want to take his head off.
Yes.
I think that's the thing that's really
I think he's
healthy.
really good, so that's why I want to beat him.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Poor
right.
old daddy, he can only hang on for so long too, can't he? Like, there's some time in the next 15 years where it's going to get really hard for dad.
Yep.
that's
and
right.
and then he sort of thought like, oh, I'll go to jiu-jitsu now. So I'm still doing martial arts, but it's like the gentle art. It's the old man sport. I think he's had more injuries in jiu-jitsu than Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Like, it's way more tolling on the body.
Oh,
way more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I did some, it was wrestling for MMA, but it was, there was jiu-jitsu elements of submissions and that. After my first night, because the guy kept using me as the training dummy.
Let's get this muscular man out just to have a go on.
Yeah. Come over here. I'll show you how this
Has
thing
the
works.
tan wiped off yet? Yeah, okay,
exactly.
come
It's
on.
so slippery, but no, and everything. I'll show you this judo throw. Matt, come here. Smash. Okay. And I'll show you again. Smash. And then it was like, he was on my back and he was showing, if somebody is tucking their chin so you can't get the rear naked choke in. He's like, so you want to use your thumb and put it against their
The
nose.
hardest bit of your hand.
Yeah, and
just
then you're
grind
ripping it up.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah. Well, because I'm the lightest, smallest person, it's really easy to show dumps and throws on me. So I won't get any of the nice stuff where you need someone sort of similar size. I'll be the one being thrown
You're the
over
crash
there.
test dummy.
Yeah. Because you can stop midair with me.
Put you back.
And this is how it should look halfway through, and I'm just...
you're like,
I am human.
Yeah, but that night, like, I remember the next day, I counted up. I had like over 30 bruises.
Oh yeah.
And I had blood nose and everything. Like it was, I
The
was hammered.
bruises is just next level. Like
Yeah.
I've woken up, same thing, and been like, what is on my body?
Yeah.
You've got fingerprints.
Yeah.
And did the teachers ever ask questions?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've rocked up to school with black eyes. Black eyes, and they've been like, oh.
How'd you
what?
do that? Oh, it was Dad.
Yeah, Dad did it to me.
Dad punched me.
It was Dad again.
Excuse me? Yeah. Or like MMA, my last MMA fight, I actually pulled up really well. Probably the best out of all my fights. I didn't have any black eyes, bruises, anything.
Yeah.
I just had a bit of a swollen lip. My Muay Thai fights, however, I would have like purple thighs from fights I won.
Yeah.
Purple. And they'd be all like looking all mangled, and my shins would be bumpy and crazy. Never had any never had actually too bad of black eyes or head injuries or concussions. Never had any of that. But my legs would just be battered. And then my boxing fight, they used Velcro gloves and they didn't really tape them up that well. So mine were taped up pretty well, but the other girls weren't. So I don't know how it happened, but I had like Velcro scratches all over my face.
Ouch.
Yeah, and the next day I went out with my boyfriend like to the mall, and people were giving him the dirtiest looks because I had like a black eye, I had scratches all over my face. I just looked like I'd...
Word had got around the Barossa.
Yeah.
I'm like, I should have worn like North Central Boxing, like jumper or something.
I'm a fighter. This
Yeah.
is,
I swear he didn't hit me.
Right.
Yeah, everyone was like giving him dirty looks, like, oh my goodness, what a monster.
Yeah.
He felt so bad.
That's awesome.
And is your boyfriend, is he in fighting
Yeah,
stuff?
so this is actually a pretty cool story. So we actually met through fighting.
Oh.
So he was a Muay
so romantic.
I know. He was a Muay Thai fighter, and he was doing it like a while before me. And then I had my first couple fights, and that's how we met, became friends. And we were friends for about like, I think 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And then so he transitioned into MMA. So he trains at ISO Health.
Okay.
Like MMA and Ju Jitsu. And I later on transitioned into Ju Jitsu, and then we started talking a bit more than friends, and yeah.
Well,
Well, you know what? You're
swiped right.
BJJ.
The first ever time we rolled together, so at like my home gym, it's still sort of like set up as a gym, so we've got mats, so we decided we were going to roll together.
So love at first roll.
Yeah, love at first choke. Yeah. And so it was really fun. We're like, so he's from the city, I'm from like the country. So I'm like, oh, I want to take him motorbike riding, something a bit fun. Not fun. Never take a city boy on a bike. Never, ever.
Oh.
And so I had, like, we got on the motorbikes, and I gave him the big safety speech beforehand, like, please don't go in front of me, like, don't go fast, we'll just take it easy, something fun, you know, get used to it. On the first straight, he zooms in front of me, like, going, like, flat stick, and I knew we were coming up to a T-junction. He didn't.
Oh.
So he's gone, like, oh my God, which way do I go? Speed wobbles. The longest fall I've ever seen, and he just landed on his arm. The bike like flew up in the air, and he landed on his arm. And so
This is first date?
no,
Oh.
I think we've been dating. No, like honestly, for like 2 months or something.
Okay.
Like great first impression.
Yeah.
And so I sort of picked the bike off of him and checked that it was okay, because it's sort of more important.
Check the bike.
Yeah, that's
bike's
worth
okay.
some money. That's expensive. Him, he can be
It's
fixed.
expendable.
Yeah. And so he was like holding his sort of arm, like, oh, it really, really hurts. And he tried to move it, and it wouldn't go in between two spots. So it would sort of just go clunk. It wouldn't be able to like held in between. You couldn't like rotate it. So I'm like, oh no, you're okay. We'll just ride back. So I made him ride back. So we were pretty far at that point, and I was not going to wheel these bikes all the way back on my own. So I got him off on his bike, and we went back. He has a manual car, so he ended up driving home using his left, the hurt arm, for
The gammy.
changing gears. And then the next day, I thought, I'm going to go to the doctor. Turns out he had broken his elbow, dislocated his elbow and also tore all the tendons around it.
Oh.
So
No arm wrestling for him.
no arm wrestling for him. No.
Wow.
So he had to have a lot of time off fighting, and so he is still a white belt, like no stripes. And I have overtaken him. So it's all part of my master
Your
plan.
master plan, yes, right. Yes.
So he hasn't got his chance to compete in
I'm a
jiu-jitsu.
goddess in Thailand.
Yeah.
I'm a blue belt, and you're just some guy that fell off a bike.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
You can't ride motorbikes. I can.
Rigged his bike.
Yeah.
You take the blue one.
Yeah. The brakes totally work.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
So, what are the plans beyond? I know fighters like to just think in terms of the next fight, and I can completely empathise with that. There's you can't think too far beyond that, but like in thinking like 10 years ahead.
Yeah. A girl can dream.
Yeah. Do you still see yourself either competing in 10 years' time, for instance?
For sure.
Yeah, you do.
For sure.
Yeah, excellent.
I'd love to keep going with the MMA and see where it takes me.
UFC maybe.
Yeah. UFC one champ, hit me up.
Yeah.
I'd be
Because they watch.
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. They're definitely not one of the 3 people that don't watch this.
No, that's
They
right.
have to be. Ever since trying the MMA gloves, I feel like that's what really was missing from Muay Thai. I never liked the restricted, like being restricted by those gloves, and they're pretty big compared to me. You know, you look at some like 10
So
ounce
you're
gloves.
almost carrying them down, halfway down.
Yeah,
for
they're
them.
heavy. They're heavy as.
What ounces are they when you fight?
I
12
think
or 8?
10 or 12.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
That is a fair bit to have at the end of your limb,
I think
isn't
they're
it? You know?
12, and they're pretty big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, and I hated it always after my Muay Thai fights. I'm like, get these off me right now. Like I never had my hand raised with gloves. I wanted them off as soon as possible.
right.
It's like claustrophobia almost, which is so weird.
Yeah.
But the MMA gloves, like that just felt so much more natural. I had so much more like I can grab, eye poke. No.
Yes.
But I would be so
Squirrel grip.
Matt's favourite move.
I don't know what that is.
It's the go-to.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever you're imagining, that's what it is.
I work with a lot of blokes. And I train with a lot of blokes.
Ask them what the squirrel grip is.
Yep. Well, like jiu-jitsu guys love bloody oil checks. So.
God.
Anyway, moving on from that, I'd be very keen for like Muay Thai with gloves. So Muay Thai in a cage, or one champ do Muay Thai but with the 4 ounce gloves. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's John Wei Par's part of that, is that right?
Yeah, he's got CMT, so cage Muay Thai. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, and they put on, so he'll put on an event and it will be Muay Thai, but in a cage.
Which changes it completely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just the aspect of having the cage there that you can lean against, where you're not restricted with the corner, the 4 posts, the bounciness of the ring ropes, that sort of thing.
Yep. And clinching is like a whole new level because you can actually grip
Yeah.
instead of just having like a glove.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can get leverage in you.
Yep. You can hold people's arms, move their arms.
Yeah.
We'll
Great.
show you some arm wrestling moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clinch maybe after.
I don't need any tips. No.
No, that's right. She's a champion already.
Yeah.
Ready to beat us both when she came in.
That's why you guys are sitting all the way over
That's
there.
right.
Scared.
Pride has just gone. So we've got the fight coming up. It's March the 12th on a Apex Sports Festival at Nord Oval. Tickets are available at diamondbackfc.com. You'll be featuring there. Do you know how many rounds the fight is?
Yep. So same as last time, 3 rounds, all 5 minutes.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Fantastic. 5 minutes.
I know that was such a worry for me coming from Muay Thai. So you have 3 rounds, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And going to 5 rounds, 2 minutes was even a push for me. Like I actually enjoyed that more than 3 rounds. But like if I was to do 3-minute rounds in Muay Thai, I would have been terrified. I would have been gassed, Then having to think about 5 minutes for MMA, it's just crazy. But it just goes. It feels quicker than 2 minutes in Muay Thai. It's insane. I don't know what it is.
Is that because of the multifaceted
I feel like
nature
there might
of
be
it?
more to do.
There could be more to think about.
Yeah.
instead of, say, 4 or 5 standard moves, and you kind of know what the reaction is going to be. Anything could happen, and that novelty and not knowing what comes next in MMA may
and I
change
feel
the
like
perspective of time.
people are more scared of getting taken down or trying to take people down. So whereas in Muay Thai, you're always at that same range.
Yeah.
Maybe in MMA, you're not always at each other.
Yeah, your mind's got to think about so many other different things. Yeah, that could happen at any point in time.
Yeah, you're not always engaged, I guess.
Yeah. Do you remember with Pride? I don't know if you saw that that they had in Japan. The first round was 10 minutes. It was a 10-minute first round and then 2 5-minute rounds.
Oh, my goodness.
And the way the fight was scored, it wasn't scored round by round. It was scored by who the judge thought won the fight, which I thought was way better. I like that so much more, because I hate when people fighters will be like, oh, you got to steal the round, and it's like that last 10 seconds they do a little bit, to try to.
But that's what the
put an impression.
the judge sees last. You
Right,
you forget about all the rest of the round because they had that awesome 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, he went harder in 10 seconds, did nothing the rest of the round.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's give him the round. No, that's like, who won the fight? That's what's important.
Yeah.
That's why I liked the way that they used to do it over there. It was crazy. But yeah, 10 minutes first round. Mainly, they have the longer rounds in MMA for the grappling side of it.
Yeah.
So if you work to get a takedown, it might take you 2 minutes to get somebody to the floor. And then it's like, but if the round's only 2 minutes long, by the time you get them down, it's like, oh, you got to get up again and start again. It's like, well, that's unfair. This isn't.
Really, I don't know what I was too scared about because, are they 5 minutes? No, they're 3 minutes, are they?
For MMA?
Oh, for MMA. Maybe I've got
five,
it wrong.
5 minutes round.
There can be 3 or 5 minutes championships, normally 5 minutes.
I don't think I did 3 minutes. I think I just got it wrong then. I just had a bit of a brain
BFC
fart.
was?
Yes, so for my last one, it was 3 minutes, sorry. Yeah,
sure?
yeah. Yes.
Definitely sure.
For sure. I thought I was saying 3 minutes, but I wasn't. So 3 minutes, and this time's 3 minutes as well. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's still amateur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. So I think some of the pros that were on last time, like Shane Mitchell's fight, was 5 minutes. I think that's where I got confused.
Yeah.
Yes.
So three 5-minute rounds is a standard, and then 5-minute rounds.
And that's what I was going to
championship.
say. Ju Jitsu, I don't know what I was scared about because their rounds are 5 minutes. Yeah, that's where I got confused. So I might have one AGC. I had 8 bouts, and they were all 5 minutes, and they were all pretty consecutive. So like 4 in the morning, 4 like an hour later. And you do them, you hop off the mat and you get called back on, and that's pretty intense in itself. So you're doing 8 by 5.
Yeah, really hard to
3 by
concentrate
3.
on the fight that you're in because you're kind of thinking about the fight that might come next or 2 down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you think 3 by 3 is like not that bad.
Do you think with the jiu-jitsu competitions you were doing, was it that you would both start standing and then sort of somebody would be working to try and get position?
Yeah.
What do you think about that style of like? Do you see where people are trying to manipulate the point system of that, and it's sort of like they'll just pity pat around for 3 minutes, and then it just feels.
I found that a lot of times you'd get to like a standstill. So if you both were sort of going for that takedown, but you didn't want to get taken down, I had about where we actually didn't go to the ground until like the last 10 seconds.
Oh.
So it ended up being 0-0. So they just called whoever had like
best looking hair
advantage. Yeah.
So the DFC fight that you most recently won, that was your first fight in DFC?
Yeah.
And so having experienced that now, what kind of what experience are you going to now bring forward into fighting in front of what could be 5,000 to 10,000 people, depending on how restrictions go between now and March?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I don't know.
You wrote it down earlier.
Yeah. I guess.
You're working on it all week.
I don't memorise. I guess really getting the crowd behind you is good, and I like the. I'm probably going to have the same fight song because that really, really helped. You just get in that zone. I think that's it. Like, I think I did pretty well last time with my game plan and how I sort of managed the fight. So I'll basically just try and do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so, there are still some tickets remaining. So if people want to make their way over to diamondbackfc.com and secure their tickets now, you can certainly do that. We'd certainly suggest it, especially if you want to see Tahlia the Great White Graetz in the cage. You should definitely do it and get behind her. And for those young ladies that are we're in admiration of you at the DFC, or anybody who's seen your work and wants to learn a little bit more about how they can perhaps explore MMA or Muay Thai or BJJ, how can they do that?
Get into a gym.
Just
do it. Do it. If you're uncomfortable, find somewhere that does girl classes, because there are ones. You know, you had Carly and Penny on. If you don't necessarily want to do the whole wrestling thing, go to Boars. You know,
go to Boars down south.
Yeah, females
and if you're
fighting
in the Barossa, if you're in the Barossa,
go to Element.
Element's the place to go.
Yeah, for sure. It's the only place, really, because we're so small. No, go to Element. Element's great. And we've got so many kids' classes. It's insane. I think we have, like, the most kids in South Australia or something crazy.
Absolutely
like,
incredible.
I think if you want to go to Element, it might be a bit hard, because we have, like, we're at capacity for kids. Yeah.
Incredible.
It's all right, though. We've got some beasts in our kid class, and they're moving up to adult soon.
Okay.
Adult class. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm really nervous. I don't want some kid to come in and beat me.
The next generation.
I'm that kid that beats people.
Yeah, just take them on a motorcycle ride.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Tahlia, for coming into the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy, and
Awesome.
we wish you every success in the lead up to, and of course on the night of the DFC, and we look forward to having you back in the studio very, very soon.
I'll see you there.
Fantastic, guys. Thanks so much for dropping in and listening or watching the podcast, wherever you may be watching that on YouTube or...
Yeah.
No, but it'd only be YouTube, wouldn't it?
Well, you can see it in a few different places.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah,
Maybe Matt can share that with us.
Yeah, so we've got the YouTube channel, which is the Daily Combat Podcast, and the same name again for the Facebook page. You can see all the videos and clips on there as well. And yeah, looking at other platforms to go on soon.
Absolutely. And if you happen to be catching a little clip and you want to, delve a little bit deeper, well, you can always download the audio version of the podcast and stay tuned for alerts. So if you subscribe, you'll get notifications of new episodes as they become available. So from the whole team here at the Daily Combat Podcast, we look forward to bringing you more episodes very, very soon.